Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo, and we're here today to talk a little bit more about Destiny 2. I wanted to dive deep into the feedback side of my experience with the game so far. We are going to talk a little bit about PvE, but we're going to be talking mostly about PvP today. In general, though, this is my feedback for the current beta, my sort of hardcore deep dive impressions, the things I would like Bungie to see if they were actually going to watch this video that could potentially help shape the game going forward. And I ask you guys to do the same. You know, every time betas and stuff drop, I know the vocal minority anyways, all the comments I ever see on the internet are always just like vomit-inducingly bad. You know, it's like 90% of them are just people, absolute hyperbole. I hate this game, it's garbage, Bungie effed us again. You know, no one is bothering to actually look at this as a beta, which it is. We're months away from the game's release, and provide concrete feedback. You know, give Bungie real feedback and say, hey, you know what, I don't think this works that well, here's why. I'd like to see this tweaked because I think this would work better. You know, just sitting there and saying, I hate this, it's trash, this sucks, Bungie, you suck. You really think that makes the game better? You think that helps anyone? No, you just sound like an absolute fool on the internet. So this is definitely a beta. I think that's one thing we really need to point out. There's a reason it's not so content rich. I think they're very focused on nailing the core systems down. They want to see our feedback on like heavy ammo spawn in campaign, for example. You know, they want to talk about super regen and grenade regen when it comes to your ability regeneration even inside of PvP. These are the things I think they're looking to nail down. And of course, that mysterious hybrid networking system that they keep talking about for player versus player. So let's actually quickly touch on that first. Now, I played about 6.5 hours yesterday. I ended at about 6 p.m., so I didn't really get into the later afternoon playtime. Some of the friends that I have who did play in that late afternoon time said that they dealt with some extreme hit registration issues. I personally have not seen any of that. There's maybe been 1 or 2 instances where I felt like I was being cheated out of some shots, but everything I've played on stream, and you can go watch the full 6-hour stream, and everything I played on stream this morning for another 2.5 hours felt pretty damn good. It felt consistent. I did not feel any individual instance where I was like, wow, the hit registration's off the wall terrible. I did have one individual situation where one player was lagging heavily. I didn't end up killing them, but they were teleporting just for about 5 or so seconds. It was enough to really throw things off. I got the kill, but it was definitely a disaster. Things like that cannot be happening. Now, I'm not going to say that there aren't hit registration issues. I just personally haven't experienced them in my like 9 to 10 hours of playtime in player versus player now. A lot of people have been experiencing them. This is where we start to get concerned, right? Bungie really needs to make sure that whatever's going on with this hybrid system they're employing, they deal with it. It's consistent, and at launch, no matter how many people are online or offline, you know, once things stabilize, post-launch, even during the beta, we need to make sure that the gameplay in player versus player is consistent. You know, we need to have that, like, 99% rate. I know you're never going to make it perfect. Even dedicated servers don't have flawless connection. That's just not the way player versus player works. Making multiplayer games is not easy. It's not just like, flip on the dedicated server, problem solved. It definitely is where we see most games do well, but I'm just more concerned with it working. I really don't care what it is or how it works technically, as long as it works. So I hope that this is an opportunity, this beta, especially as we move into the open beta on the 21st, where we're going to start to see a massive influx of players, even more than we probably have now, that things can stay consistent. I want the experience that I've had to exist for everybody the majority of the time, like 99.9% of the time. This is how the game plays. Hit registration feels great. Connection feels great. We don't have people lagging. People with red bars aren't rewarded for having a crappy connection. That's always a concern. Definitely not an easy task, but let's hope that Bungie can make it happen, because I know the PvE, I think, is going to be pretty good, right? You know, it's just all about the strikes being enjoyable and everything coming together for them on the PvE side of things. The PvP, when it comes to connection, is where things get really challenging. I'd love for the PvP to good, because I do love the core gameplay so much, man. I talked yesterday about how much I enjoyed that core gameplay arc. It just feels so satisfying, so tuned right now, especially when we talk comp with Countdown. I like that. I like it a lot, so I want the rest of it to be pretty kick-ass. Moving into more PvP discussion. While the core gameplay does feel good to me, like, I like the time to kill, I like the decision to do 4v4 for the competitive stuff at least. You know, I like the way heavy weapon ammo works. There is a lot to be said with the rate at which supers and abilities recharge. Now, let's talk about grenades first. Grenades are pretty controversial, and right, the community at this point, the long-term fan base for Destiny 1 PvP wants gunfights, right? We want gunplay. I like that. I appreciate that. I think that feels good. But does that mean making it so we get like one grenade a round? or, you know, maybe 2 grenades in a match of control, 1 grenade, or maybe 2 in a match of countdown. You know, at what rate should we be earning these grenades? How powerful they should be? You know, some of the grenades seem pretty potent. You're definitely not going to be one-shotting people with most of them. It's definitely about draining a shield and then using the grenade for cleanup. I like that. I'm really impartial right now to the way the grenades work currently, but that doesn't mean that I don't think they should toy around with them. You know, maybe consider boosting the regeneration rate up just a little bit, so we're talking maybe 3 grenades per match. It's definitely something I'd like to see them toy around with. I would love to hear what you guys think about the current grenade regeneration right now. Now, when it comes to super regeneration, I think this is one that just about everybody is going to agree needs to be increased greatly. In a match of countdown, it's not as bad because we're talking about round-to-round combat. So usually you get 1, maybe 2 supers in a very long match of countdown if you're lucky, and they feel like, okay, let's use them at the right time, you know, let's use it to counter, save a super. For the most part, everybody's getting supers at the same time, so you can kind of figure out what round you're going to have to focus on deploying a super or getting with the other team. I think pushing it so we're looking at like a consistent 3 supers across the length of a match of countdown would be a good number. It's really troublesome in control right now. Control, you're looking at basically 1 super per player per match. So you get that super at the end of the match when there's maybe a minute left and everybody just dumps their super at the exact same time. That's definitely an issue. Now, I don't really want to see super spam all over the place. I think most of the supers are relatively powerful, specifically the Sentinel with that damn shield, man. Captain America knows how to mess stuff up as a Guardian. But I think maybe 2 supers per match, again, consistent across the board for each player in control would be a much better experience. You know, having it so maybe the first supers are ready around, you know, 40%, second super is ready around 80%, so you still got a good chunk of the match at beginning and end in the middle for supers to kind of be saved or rotated or utilized to counter other supers. It's definitely just something that needs to be tweaked. It's not good where it's at currently. Now, when we talk about heavy ammo and like the weapon types and the way that the weapons now function inside of PvE, there's definitely, I think, going to be a very heated debate about whether or not the change that Bungie made was good for PvE. I know a lot of people look at it and they're not like super excited. I think really it's just a matter of them giving us more heavy ammo. A lot of people right now are looking at it like Bungie did this for the sake of Crucible and it screwed over PvE, and I just don't agree. You know, I don't agree that everything that happened here is for the sake of Crucible and PvE is garbage because of it. I've enjoyed pretty much all the weapons I've picked up in PvE at this point. My only gripe, and this is something that Luke Smith has already addressed, is that there isn't enough heavy ammo drops. You know, again, this is the point of the beta. Luke has already said they've went ahead and updated the current build of the game that they have to have more heavy ammo drops. There just aren't enough. You know, in the Homecoming mission, I think I've gotten a total of 4 to 5 drops in the entire mission, which is not a lot. And when you consider the fact that we now have sniper rifles, shotguns, fusion rifles, all in that heavy weapon slot, they definitely need to consider giving us more heavy ammo. It's definitely going to be a hard thing to balance because some of the weapons like the grenade launcher feel excessively powerful. You've got rocket launchers in there that can do some serious damage to like legendaries and elite type enemies. You know, so giving us more heavy ammo means that those things are more powerful. We can use them more often. I mean, just look at the Homecoming mission. You can nuke some of those mini boss fights, no problem at all with the grenade launcher. Whereas maybe the shotgun doesn't do as much damage, or, you know, your sniper, even though snipers seem to nuke people pretty well. So it's going to be a big balancing act for them, but I'm glad to see they are focused on just getting more heavy ammo into our hands. I think that's going to make the experience feel better overall. Other than that, I don't really see a problem with the way that we have energy and kinetic weapons now. I actually really like the fact that I could run, you know, a pulse rifle alongside of a hand cannon and a, you know, sidearm alongside of another sidearm if I want to. I like that sort of diversity. I've been pretty positive about that since they originally announced it, and I think it still feels really well in game. It's just about buffing up that heavy ammo. And again, I think giving us our super a little bit more often. You know, right now we're probably playing on like normal difficulty against these enemy types, so it feels like we're just chewing through everything. But once we start talking about like heroic and, you know, nightfall for strikes and stuff like that, we definitely need to be earning our supers more often. It's going to help us deal with some of those mini boss fights. And all in all, supers are cool. You know, when it comes to player versus environment content, when it comes to the co-op stuff, we all want to use our supers a little bit more often because they're super cool, man. I want to dash around with my, you know, with my Arc Strider. I want to be able to use it more than once in the opening mission for the campaign. So they definitely need to see a regen on super, a boost on super regeneration in the campaign as well. Those are really my biggest pet peeves with the game right now. You know, it's just, it's fine balance that I'd just like to see tweaked and refined. When it comes to weapon balance, I'm not ready to talk on that one. You know, I think right now a lot of things feel great. A lot of it is down to players' skill. A lot of people don't take that into account. I've seen a lot of people say scout rifles aren't that good. I've been doing way better with the scout rifle that I personally have than I have with any of the pulse rifles I picked up. So while pulse rifles do seem pretty potent, scout rifles still seem to reign supreme at range where they belong. You know, so right now the weapon archetypes are feeling pretty good to me still, even as we hit the 12 and 13 hour mark, but maybe that will change as the beta goes on. Definitely interested in playing with more people, having the beta open up today on Xbox One and then go full open on Friday, seeing how the servers handle. We will be back at the end of the beta, probably Sunday or Monday, giving sort of a closing impressions to see how the game held up, see if registration becomes a bigger issue for me, hit reg becomes a bigger issue for me, if the connection holds up, so on and so forth. So let me know your current thoughts, guys. What has your experience been like? Has it been inconsistent? Have you had a good hit registration? Has it been kind of a nightmare for you? Have you noticed it being worse at certain times of the day? And how do you feel about the current balance, the regeneration of grenades, supers, abilities, whether it's in PvE or in player versus player? Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, remember to play smart, remember to play to challenge yourself, but most importantly, remember to play for fun.